What is the difference between creating a community and creating a movement? Creating fanatic fans, people who love what you do and will come to defend you if somebody is opposing you. This kind of deep rooted community, this movement is exemplified so well by Lauren Golden and her Free Momma Movement. Lauren launched the Free Momma Movement in order to show working moms that they don't have to choose between financial security and family. And she's built a massive online community that other people come and rally together behind that core belief. We're going to dissect what it takes to create a movement in this episode. Lauren, I am so excited to chat with you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk all things. Do they know where we're going? Is it a surprise?
I mean,
Do we tell them?
What are we talking about today, Lauren?
We're talking about building a community. And this is not only my superpower, so I'm really excited to talk about it, but this is also something that for me, as my business has grown and I've made more money, has brought me fulfillment in what I do. And it's also just a really fun way to scale a business and not feel so lonely.
I 100% agree. And there's so many reasons I love connecting with you. We are like newfound friends, I feel like. But the first time we talked, I felt such an instant connection, not just because we're both Missouri girls. Shout out Missouri. Hey.
I'm actually on the Kansas side. I don't know. Did things just get weird? I know. Oh, she rolled her eyes.
It's fine. It's fine. No,
I'm like
Kansas
a couple.
City,
I'm like a mile and a half from state line. So
yeah, it's close enough. We are both Midwest girls.
Yeah.
Edit. No, we're both Midwest girls. And I think that you and I both agree too. We both got kind of a start in freelancing, teaching freelancing, and are passionate about this idea that, hey, if you want to get started online, you should start with freelancing because it is the fastest way to make money online. So I would love for anybody who is maybe new to Lauren to kind of hear your origin story. I'm not sure if I've even heard it. So let us know kind of where you came from, how you got started in this online space, and also a little bit of where you're at now, kind of that whole evolution of your business and your movement.
Cool. I am not known for my brevity, so I'm going to try to speed things up a little bit. But
fine.
I can't, my origin story, the background that's important for that is that I grew up with a dad who was self-employed. So that was very modeled to me of like hard work, creating something on your own. He worked a lot, but he also never missed my dance stuff. He never missed my soccer games. Like he was able to choose where he was. I didn't realize that like on a conscious level, how much that played a role when I became a parent, but I think that's an important precedent. The other is that I grew up with a stay-at-home mom. And so I had a very deeply rooted belief that good moms stayed home to raise their children. So now we can flash forward. I got married young-ish. I don't know. I was 23 and we tried to start a family and it took a little longer than planned because, science, but things had to happen. But we finally got pregnant. And what always is interesting to me looking back is that my husband and I never even had a conversation about what it would look like for me to stay home. Because we knew how much money we both made in our head. We knew that we had already bought a house and had a mortgage and like numbers don't lie. So like we never even talked about it. It was more like, where are we going to send the baby when she's born? And shout out to Ashley, who watched my babies early in life, was in-home childcare provider, which was awesome. But something really interesting happened for me that first day back at work after my oldest was born, she just turned 10. So this was a decade ago for context. I had to pump in a bathroom. I worked at a school, fancy. And I went back to my office after lunch, after pumping. And I remember where I was, those moments like 9/11 or whatever, like those moments where like, exactly where you were and exactly what the room looked like. That's how it was for me. And I sat down at my desk, Abby, and I like pushed back and I was like, whoa, like out loud. I was like, whoa, because the thought that I had was like, I love working. I have this baby that I literally bawled my eyes out this morning, leaving her after being home on an unpaid maternity leave for 12 weeks. And I love her. And I love working. So that was my first aha. Flash forward 2 years, her brother, my son, was born. And I realized that I love working and I love making money, but I don't like someone else telling me where to be and when I have to be there. And it
Yeah.
was when we went from 1 to 2 kids that I like really felt that pull of like, all right, we're just failing everywhere. Like we're failing at work, we're failing as a parent, we're failing as a wife. Like it's just, there's just not enough hours in the day. And so that's when I went to my favorite trusted resource, Google, and started looking into how to make money from home. And I always tell my community, like, I tried all the things, like, don't bother. I've already tried all of them. Like, I did network marketing. I thought I was going to be like a famous blogger. I didn't even realize like bloggers understood anything about business. I thought they literally just made posts and somehow made money. Like, I don't know what I thought. I knew nothing. But I tried like the secret shopper thing. I tried the surveys where you make like 3 cents for like 5 hours of filling out surveys. It was horrible. Like I tried everything because I wanted flexibility. I wanted freedom, but I wanted to still be applying myself. I just wanted to do it on my own terms. And very much like how a lot of people in the Free Mama find me now, I was on Facebook one day and I saw an ad for a webinar. And the webinar was all about growing a social media agency. And in my mind, I'm like, agency was like not even in the realm of something I desired to do or create. But what happened during that webinar is I started to have these like belief shifts of like, wait, I do social media for the school I work at, and I'm like pretty good at it because I'm a geriatric millennial and I grew up with, I was on Facebook before everybody else. Like, I'm pretty good at this. I'm very resourceful. I'm very hardworking. So I like to go figure stuff out. And I'm watching this thing. And all of a sudden, I just had this belief shift of like, I can get people to pay me to do this thing and not be at a job. And it sounds really silly, Abby, but like, my whole life changed on that webinar of like what was possible for me. And so that's how I started my freelance journey. I worked as a social media manager. We moved during that time that I was freelance. Well, we got origin story. Okay, the real origin story. We'll give you the Cliff's Notes version on my webinar for my audience. My origin story is yes, that's how I started freelancing was through those two epiphanies. I never would have gone full time into my business if I would not have experienced a really low that made me ask myself how bad I want it. And for me and my story, that was a miscarriage. It was an unexpected pregnancy. We did not know anything was wrong. I went in, I had a new doctor. Can you imagine? Like, it's the first time I'm meeting this doctor. We're supposed to be doing an ultrasound. And I knew before she even said anything, because I could see the horrified look on her face, that the first time she was meeting me, she had to be the one to tell me this news. It was awful. That's another place where I remember everything that happened. But I went home. I ended up having a DNC procedure the next morning. And 5 days later, I walked in and quit my job because all I could think during that experience was like, I am unhappy, but I am not doing anything about it. Like I am living complacently. I'm just going through the motions every day. And I'm overwhelmed and I'm exhausted. And I'd started freelancing. So I had some income coming in, but I wasn't really going for it. And so I look back so differently now, however many years late, I guess 7+ years later, I look back and I'm like, that baby was a gift. Like that baby maybe didn't get to like live its life on earth, but it changed my life because I did something with that little baby and like turned it into something that not only changed my family's life, but now has gone on to impact tons of thousands of people's lives. And I'm not done. So that's really like my meaty origin story. So flash forward a couple of years, I'll get to the punchline. I launched the Free Mama Movement after freelancing for about 3 years. And really my mission was to take this idea, this thing, this little belief that I didn't know that like had changed and be like, hey, moms, like, hello, are you aware that there's this thing out there that's accessible? There's like no barrier for entry at all. Like, and you are capable of doing it. And like, I just wanted to shout it from the rooftops. And I'm sure like you, Abby, I just had this like pit in my stomach of like, what if this wasn't even really about me? Like, yes, I changed my family's life, but like, what if the whole reason I was tested and tried in these ways and made all these mistakes and had all these successes was so that I could go teach other people how to do this as well. And so I could spend the whole hour telling this story, but that's my best job at condensing it.
Mm.
How'd I do?
Oh my goodness, so good, so good. And so what we're talking about today is how to cultivate a movement. And
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I have really admired about you is that when I hear you speak, when you go to your website, when you are involved in your community at all, there is a deep sense of connection.
Yeah.
And I think there's not just a community, there is a movement happening behind that community. So, I mean, what is it that differentiates, I guess, if you have something to say to this, like between just a traditional community that you
Mhm.
would find with any other business, right? Like everybody has an audience. If you have a successful online business, you likely have an audience. Maybe it's a
Yep.
Facebook community, maybe it's on Instagram, maybe it's on YouTube, wherever your community people are. What's the difference between just having a community and leading a movement in your
Um,
brain?
I think there's a few things I'll shout out. I think the first is that I don't sell people a product. I sell people a belief system, meaning I start by telling them why I do what I do. So I just kind of told it in story version, but like a way I can summarize that, there's a couple things that we say over and over again. The first is that like we believe that no mother should choose between family and financial stability. Almost everyone in my community can tell you that. And so whether you go
Mm,
to my webinar or my website or the Facebook group, like there is this sense of like, if you believe this too, you belong here. It's not
yeah.
if you bought my program or if you're in my coaching group or whatever, or if you've read my book, like, although you'll find that belief system embedded in all of those things. What's really cool about that to me, and I wish I could tell you I did this because I'm a really smart entrepreneur, but that might be misleading. I think it was an accidental, like happy thing, but is that that also means that I can evolve this brand pretty loosely in terms of what I offer, as long as it is still integrity with that belief system. As soon as the belief system gets challenged, we have to go build a new community, right? But like within that, it's not just, oh, I'm known for this core offer. It's like, no, I'm selling this belief system. So that's the first thing is like, I would figure out if you want a community, it's not just what do you do? Like, what do you, oh, I teach people how to be a virtual assistant or what, whatever the thing is. It's like, no, like, why do you do what you do? And sell people
Mm,
that because that's what gives that people that connection of like, you are like me. My friends might not understand me. They think I'm crazy, right? Status quo stuff. We talk about that a lot. Like, no, but we in this community, we believe this. So that's the first thing. I would say the second thing is I don't just serve my buyers, I serve my believers. So you don't have to be enrolled in one of my things to feel that me or my team or the other people in the community will take care of you and will
mm,
support you and will answer questions. I actually spend more of my time producing free content than I do fulfilling my programs because I have, well, boundaries and team and structure and things like that. I'm sure you might be able to relate to that as well in terms because I know you produce a lot of content as well. And
right.
so that's, so number one, tell people why you believe what you believe and gather your community of believers. Number two would be serve your believers, not just your buyers, and serve your frigging face off. And I don't mean
Mm,
without boundaries. Like anyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed with time. I think I've already mentioned that to you before we started recording. Like I really am. I have very healthy boundaries, but I have on my calendar time blocks to be in my Facebook group because I don't think anybody can go be me but me. And so I, for 4.5 years now, have answered every post I've ever been tagged in. Do I answer it within an hour? Absolutely not, unless you get lucky with the time you post, right? But I'll answer it within about 48 hours, all of them, because I have time blocks for it. So serve your face off. I think the third thing, and I don't say this from a place of ego, I say it because I just think it's true. I think the leader matters. And I think I've done a lot of things not as great as my peers in business. And there are a lot of them who make a lot more money than I do, if I'm being really honest. I've been in a lot of masterminds, but they have problems with churn and burn. They can go sell the high
mhm.
ticket thing, but they are always looking for new people. All I need is a new offer. My people are literally waiting for me to sell it to them, or I bring in an affiliate offer, or I do whatever. So, I think you have to, what's your mindset and what's your goal? And are you willing to do those things? We kind of spoke about that offline as well. Like
Right.
it's not easy to be the leader of, a community of tens of thousands of people and consistently show up. I was telling you, I took a break from doing my Facebook lives. You guys, if you're listening, let me tell you what it looks like to be a leader. I showed up every single week for 4.5 years. I missed 1 week in 4.5 years going live, offering value to my community. That's a commitment. Is that hard? Arguably, no, right? Like if you're thinking like blocking your calendar for 1 hour a week, but it's that consistency and it's that commitment to my community and the other free mamas that has allowed me to have that rapport with them. The last thing about like being the leader is the leader sets the tone. So like I can be pretty hands off with my community now because the community starts to run itself. That also, Abby, is really important because that doesn't happen in an audience. There's a difference between a community and an audience. An audience cannot run itself. You must continue to create content. I barely post inside of my Facebook group at all, like unless I'm in a promotion for something. I don't have to because I set the tone early on of this is who we are. This is how we serve each other. This is what this group is about. And these are the expectations if you'd like to stay in it. And then I protect it like crazy. Like it's one and done. I don't care how beloved you might have become in the group. If you start to do something that takes somebody off, you're gone. You're gone
Yeah.
because it's about the greater good. And so, yeah, what do you believe? Why do you do what you do? Not just what's your thing you're selling. Serve everybody, serve all your believers, serve your face off, and make sure you're a leader worthy of having a community of followers.
Oh my goodness. So, so good. I hope everybody listening is like just consuming. I feel like I'm absorbing it because it does that rally cry. So
Yeah.
there's something that
Yes.
happens when you draw a line in the sand and you say, all right, here it is. You are my people if you are on this line of the sand. And if you're
Yep.
not, you're never going
Cool.
to get us. And that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Have
And something else that you do, Abby, that's really cool, that is just like a very tactical thing, is give them like an identity. You said rally cry. I've got my I am a free mama shirt on. Like they get these when they
Mhm.
graduate from my stuff. I see your stuff and it's like, hey, Savvy, it's like, if you can take on an identity. Okay, here's an example. Sorry, I get really very passionate about this
No,
topic.
I
I
love
can't,
this.
I like flare up a little bit. Have you ever gotten swag from like an attorney or like an insurance office or like a dentist and you're like, it goes in the trash, right? Like, unless it's something
Right.
really practical, like a pen, and then it goes in the pen drawer or whatever, like, you do not care. Like, you do not care about it at all. There's a reason people in the free mama movement are like obsessed with swag, right? It's because, or why you buy like your favorite sports team stuff or whatever. It's because you have an idea. I am this thing. I am a
Yes.
free mama. I am a savvy. Like, I am these things. And when they have that type of, I mean, think about how often do people who are obsessed with a sports team just like jump ship? Like, not often, right? Like, it just, and so it's the same. It's like, it's that level of loyalty and belief. And so there are very tactical things that you can create to like further develop your community and kind of give them what they want.
Yeah. So in that drawing of the sand, that drawing that line in the sand, has there been times that you've had like resistance to it? Because I feel like that's some of the fears that sometimes people will have of like, okay, I do feel passionate. I have a belief system,
Mhm.
but there's something in me that's nervous to like draw the line in the sand and say, these are my people. And hey, if you're not this, you don't get it. And
Yeah.
that's okay. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I want people to know
Yep.
what they're walking into. Like, have you met resistance with that?
Yes. And before I tell you my experience, I want to share with you what I heard
Mm.
that I started to like accept on a cellular level that kind of made me okay with it. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
Russell Brunson is one of my mentors. He's co-founder of ClickFunnels and just really smart dude in the marketing world. So if you haven't read his books, you should all go read his books. But anyway, one of the things he talks about is like, you can't have raving fans without having haters. Like it's the cyclicality of the universe. So if you want people obsessed with you or what you do, by default, there will be people who do not agree with you. So that like, if we can just look at that objectively and not emotionally, it's like, cool. Well, yeah, I want people to like be raving fans of my stuff and my work and my belief and my community and whatever. Okay, cool. Then we know that the byproduct of that is the other side. And I think when I kind of heard him talk about that and like being like, and there's a lot of cliches I could, if you stand for everything, you stand for nothing. Like there's all kinds of things. But I think when I heard Russell talk about it, I was kind of like, oh, okay, so this is just going to be one of those, like, I don't want to call it a sacrifice, but it's just one of those things I'm going to need to accept that
Yeah.
comes with the territory of the thing I say that I want. And that's what made me okay with it. For me, I would say the biggest thing that shows up is I don't lead with this. Well, I kind of do, but not often. I'm kind of positioned as the anti network marketer. So I'm not really a fan of network marketing. Yes, I have my own story. And I've been told many times that because I was not a huge success in network marketing, I don't have the right to talk about it. And I'm like, okay, listen, statistically, I was a success. I made $200 over the course of like 6 months. That was net, not gross. By the time all of the stuff that they made me sign up for and do and wholesale and, blah, 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 and all that stuff, that was what I had to show for it at the end of 6 months. And I was so mad. Like I was So mad. So statistically, I was a success story because 99.71% of people industry wide will actually lose money. 99.71. It's insane. I actually have a reel. I have a couple reels that I've made. A few of them have been taken down from Instagram. So yes, it is a controversial topic. What's really
Wow.
interesting, Abby, is when I talk about network marketing, which again, in the scheme of like what I talk about, it's not that often, but you will hear me talk about it. Why? Because it's a differentiator, right? So when I talk about it, especially on social media, what starts to happen is I will lose about 500 to 1,000 followers. So like my Instagram is just stagnant because when I talk about it, people get pissed and they leave. You know what else happens? The people who believe what I believe, they don't comment publicly. They're terrified of crucifixion,
Mm.
seriously. But what happens is they send me a message and they tell me, I feel like how you feel, or this happened to me, or let me tell you my experience, or whatever. And they open up. Guess what happens? Not only do I get those people to join my community, but almost always, if they come to me in a direct message, I will sell them one of my products to teach them about freelancing. Might not be the full course, might be my book or whatever, but they are sitting there going, oh my gosh, this person gets me. She is validating my experience because we don't have enough time on, and I don't want to waste it. But like the network marketing world can be very toxic and it can be very manipulative. So there are not a lot of people willing to speak out against it because it is a very high volume group of individuals. So it is scary to speak out against. That's why they don't comment on my posts. They send me a private message. I have, as a business owner, as a leader, I don't like the word influencer, but like as someone willing to speak up, I'm willing to put myself in there and draw that line in the sand that you talked about. I'm willing to say, this is not right. This is taking advantage of women, knowing people are going to unfollow me. People are going to hate me in the comments. They're going to be really nasty. I can take all of that. My internal filter is, do I stand by this? I ask myself that before I post anything ever. Do I stand by this? And what I'm really asking myself is, would I say this to someone's face? Well, I just said it in an interview. So probably. Why? Because I believe it. It is my belief system. And by willing to talk about the things you believe and not chickening around it, you are therefore creating the line in the sand and therefore giving people the invitation to join you on one of the sides.
Mm. Oh my goodness, there's so much gold here. This is incredible because I do. It's that drawing the line in the sand. And when you draw the line, you got to be able and
Pick a
ready to
side.
defend the line, to
Yep.
take the side, and know that, hey, it's part of the process. Like you cannot have one without the other. And I think,
Yeah.
one of the questions I started with is the difference between a community and a movement. And I think it's exactly what you just said is
Yeah.
a community is a group of people who it's like, hey, let's all get together with a common, maybe a common belief system, but like a common, I don't know,
Could be
a
shared
vocation or a
experience. Yeah.
common
Yeah.
thing, that a common hobby or a common whatever. But there's a difference between that community and a movement that it is, no, this is a deep rooted belief system that we are willing to defend. And,
I also think there's
and it's the
action
difference.
involved. I think there's
Yeah.
action involved in the word movement. It's not only do we believe that moms don't have to choose between family and financial stability, but it's something we're striving towards. And it's something
Yeah.
we're taking other women who want to go with us. And just one thing, because there's going to be someone listening who maybe does like network marketing. So I'm going to say the same thing I tell everybody.
That's
Good
fine.
for
Probably
you.
not.
That's great. Well, probably not. Like, when people argue with me in the comments, you made a comment about like be prepared to defend yourself. Yes, except that doesn't always look hostile. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
sometimes I'm like, if someone's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been so sad," I'm like, "Great for you. Way to go. Like that's awesome." I'm not trying to talk you out of something that's working for you. What I am trying to do is give women who aren't often painted the entire picture of this industry more facts so that they can
Yes.
make a more prepared decision for them. And I could argue about
Mm.
that all day long because, unlike a lot of people in network marketing, I have been to the earnings disclosures website of all of the companies that do disclose some such information, which is not all of them, by the way. And I have screenshots of all of them. So I'd be happy to educate anybody on the topic who wants to know. But that's part of that defending, right, Abby? It's like,
Yeah.
do you just have an opinion or which is fine, but like, how do you back that up?
So good. So let me ask you this. So you have something you believe deeply in and other people come alongside it. And like you said, over time, and I think that's the beauty. And we see it too. Like even something as simple as like we implemented a 4-day work week. And there's people sometimes who will say, hey, I sent an email today and I haven't gotten a response yet. and our team, even before, or like our community, even before we jump in
Right.
to answer it, they're like, saying, hey, here's what's going on. Da, 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 da. They'll get back to you. They're so prompt. They're so this, they're so this. And it's just,
It's awesome.
it's awesome because that is what happens over time, is that people will start to speak that for you, where
Yep.
you don't even have to necessarily like defend yourself, and
Yes.
like we said, defending doesn't have to even be like a mean, you
Thing.
punched me,
Yeah.
I'll punch you back.
Yeah.
It's a, hey,
They
here's the
respond for
reasoning.
you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is so incredible when your community starts to do that for you. So, talk to me about how this weaves itself, how it weaves itself through, like you mentioned, you guys have like swag, and it's
Mhm.
something we actually implemented. We built a store just like a year ago, and it's crazy because we were like, this doesn't financially make us much
No,
money. It's not
not
like
at
it's
all.
that, but it is this sense of people just saying, yes, I identify with this and I want to be a part of it. How else does it weave itself into like the practical things, into the kind of content you create, about how you spend your time, about the team members you hire? How do you find this weaving itself through your business in practical ways?
I don't know if this is the route you were maybe thinking I was going to go, but I'm actually thinking of it more through like a systemized approach. So, if yes, there's the movement. And like I said at the very beginning, this is where I find fulfillment. I mean, I am friends with people in my community. I have met hundreds of my students in real life. I have worked with thousands of them over the course of the few years one on one, even if it was just one 15-minute conversation. Like, knowing my humans is very important to me. I don't know,
Yeah.
Catherine Jones. She's awesome. She's one of my very good friends in the online space. And from like day one, since we met, she's like, you're just a lady of the people. And I'm like, I really am. Like, that to me is such a compliment because I genuinely care about the women in our community. I know where they're from. I remember their spouses' names, their kids' names. Not everybody. I'm not perfect. I'm not like a walking encyclopedia, but that really is how close that we are with each other. The way that you turn a movement into a business, though, in those little nuances, the first thing that I'm thinking of is systems. It's like, great, okay, so you're listening to this podcast because you're a business owner, but we're talking about growing a movement. It's like, how do we make those things work together? And so we do a lot of cross promoting through pretty much everything that we do. My Facebook group is our hub. So yes, I'm on YouTube. Yes, I'm on Instagram, but all roads lead back to the Facebook group always. So, like, if you are a believer, if you are in our community, this is the number one place where we congregate and where you will find out about everything else that's going on. But with that being said, when someone joins our Facebook group and you answer those little questions, there are third party plugins and tools that you can use to then automatically get those people over to your email list. So let's say someone listening, because you're going to ask me at the end, maybe, how can someone connect with you? Because that's a really common question on podcasts. And I'm going to say the best place to hang out with me is inside my Facebook group, because that's where our community is. And like I've already told you, I answer every question I get tagged in personally, me. So you're going to request to join. You're going to give us your email, because if you don't get to get in, because line in the sand, right? So then what happens is we're going to sync that up. You can unsubscribe, by the way, but we're going to send you free stuff because, again, nurturing, cultivation, this is like where we bring in the business side. At the end of giving you a bunch of free stuff, we're going to invite you to my webinar. I'm just telling you right now. All of this, by the way, doesn't take that long to set up, and you build it once and then it works for you forever. So I'm
Yeah.
big fan of evergreen, big fan of automation, big fan of tools. Okay. So that's like one route. But Lauren, you also run Facebook ads. Okay, cool. So let's say I'm running Facebook ads and you sign up for my webinar. The first thing you're going to be asked to do in that first email that you get is come join our Facebook group, right? So everything we do cross promotes. Let's say you find me on YouTube, you're Googling how to work from home and you find a video and then Abby's right next to it. And we're like always competing for your attention. And so you come watch my video. Guess what I'm going to do in that video? At least once, I'm going to tell you that the best place to connect with people like us is inside my Facebook group. And we're going to give you a link to do that, right? So it's everywhere. Everywhere I'm telling people to come join my community. Now, here's where things get really good. And here's where there's a really big missed opportunity from other business owners. You might already do this because you're savvy. Okay. So inside of all of my paid products, inside of them, I also have calls to action back to my group at every module, okay, are you stuck here? Cool. Click here, go post your question here. We're going to answer it. Did you get a win? Every Friday we do our win. Why is this important to bring people back? You're literally training them that this is where we hang out. This is where our community resides. This is where we celebrate. This is where we ask for help. This is where we
Mm.
hang out, all the things. And so every single thing that we do within my company, whether it's on the front end of someone buying or the back end, sends people to the Facebook group. So there's social
Wow.
proof. People are constantly being cultivated to show up and participate, right? That's
Yeah.
like a big thing. And that's kind of one of my like values. And that's why I said movement to me versus community, there's an action involved. We're doing something. We're not just saying we believe that I don't have to choose. We are creating something for our families. We are creating something for ourselves, right? Monetarily and fulfillment. What there's action involved. And so through all these little things, we're training people and kind of giving identifiers, because at any point people can leave. I don't care about what are they called? Oh gosh, I'm having one of those mom moments where you can't remember a word. Number like
Like
vanity
metric,
metrics. Thank you.
vanity
Vanity
metrics.
metrics. Don't care. I don't care. I mean, I might be a little sad if like 10,000 people left overnight, but if they were 10,000 people who weren't participating and didn't believe what we believe, I could care less. I do
Yeah.
not have like a goal in my mind of like, I need this many followers or this many people. Like, that is not important to me. What is important to me is like the health of the community, the participation, and the movement. Those are my
Mm.
values. And I think because I'm really explicit about that with that line in the sand, it attracts people who believe what I believe.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I
Mm.
went where you wanted me to go,
Oh
but
my
it's like,
gosh.
okay, cool.
So good. So good.
But this is how
Seriously.
we
And
connect it, right? You've got to like,
yeah.
you can have a movement and not have a business, and you can still be really fulfilled and you can be a leader. And maybe, and of course, there's other ways to monetize that as well. We hear about influencers, but this to me is like how you bring the two together. It's like you
Yeah.
have the movement, but then you also have your offers. You have something that you're monetizing, and not just monetizing, but what's the saying? Something sales is like you're like giving inspiration to someone else. That's like what a transaction is.
Mm.
It's like the trade. I don't remember the saying, but it's something like that. It's like you're
We'll just
giving
make up our own. It's
inspiration.
fine.
Yeah. So, like when someone's buying something from me, it's not just them giving me money or me making a sale. It's like I am able to give them tools and inspiration that furthers the mission in the movement out in the world. And so that's really cool.
This is inspiring. It really is. And I feel like I feel like there's so many different angles that this has taken in a good way, whether you're somebody listening who you're like, I have this movement and I want to make it into a business. We talked some practice there.
Yep.
Or I have a business, but I don't really feel like it is a movement, but I do have those things inside of me. It's just
Yep.
that kind of, okay, it is time to draw the line in the sand, come up with come up with your rally cry, and then start taking action on it. Because if you take action on it, other people will too.
Yeah.
So good.
Absolutely.
Lauren, thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been absolutely incredible. I always enjoy talking to you, but this conversation in specific, I just feel like was inspiring, which is what you do. And so
Okay.
I am honored to get to be around your inspiration. And do you have like a community people could join? I don't know.
Oh, stop. I already told you how to connect with me. Before we wrap up, Abby, I just want to say so many of these things that I mentioned, I know that you do.
Mm,
I've been mostly a wallflower. I'm kind of a blinders girl, where I'm like,
same
I
here.
see and respect you. And I know we have a lot of overlap. I also am not one to really believe in competition. We've talked about
Right.
this, and it's why we're collaborating, right? Instead, but I try to just like stay in my lane with blinders, but I know enough about what you've built and what you do and the impact you have within your own community that I just want to commend you because, you probably are already doing most, if not all, of what I mentioned today. So just be proud of what you've built. And I know everybody listening is obviously listening for a reason. And it's not because of me, it's because of you. So you do a good job leading people. And I admire you.
Thank you. Mutual love. Mutual love. I love it. Yes, we are definitely, I love the community over competition model. I believe that there is enough space for all of us in the world. And I don't know, I'm excited to see as your movement continues, the more people that you'll inspire. So anything else you want to leave us with? Definitely. Anything else, Lauren?
I think the last thing would be don't be afraid to go for it. I think when I first hired my business coach, I was terrified when I first really decided to like I'm doing this thing. I gave her all my money and then I like didn't want to do what she told me to do because it felt really scary. It felt like who am I to be a leader? Like I don't know everything. Like it's not perfect, and I guess I want to say like a leader, that's not what being a leader is. Like it's not, there's a lot of humility in leadership. There is a lot of vulnerability in leadership. And I think these are actually things that bond my community to me is like I tell them when I screw up. I mean, usually they see it anyway, but like then I own it and I like talk about it and we marinate it in it. And like, even I just had my live event a few weeks ago, and I tell them every year, the best thing, the best gift I feel like I could give you at this event is to somehow fall on my face in front of you. Hopefully, not literally, hopefully, like metaphorically, but like, I want you to see that you can screw up and you can be imperfect and you can get it wrong and you can still win at this game. Like, you can still, not only can you still, but like, you will do it because of those things. And like,
Yes.
I don't know. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I want this, but I don't feel qualified, or I don't know if I can. I felt that way too. I used to like poop my pants when my business coach was like, go live. And I'm like, I can't do that. And she's like, seriously, do it. You gave me all your money. And I'm like, okay. Like, I was so bad. It was awful. But like, it's not about being perfect. It's not about knowing everything. It's not about getting it right. It's about being you, being true to your beliefs, and just like showing up and showing up consistently and with that commitment to your people. And you can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. Even when you fail, like, just bring it to your people and they will love and hold you. And you have the ability to build something really, really beautiful.
Mm. So good. So good. Lauren, thank you so much. This has been
Yeah.
such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.